Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad FIQRI bin Muhammad SHUIB, and today me and the rest of my group member will present our group project which entitled Poverty. Poverty is a state or condition in which a person or a community lacks the financial resources and essentials to sustain a minimum standard of living. In Malaysia, a household that earned a combined income of 2,208 ringgit and below is considered to be in poverty. Poverty causes many negative ramifications towards the household, such as an increased exposure towards involvement in criminal activity, limited access to healthcare, and also malnutrition, just to name a few. Thus, for our group projects, one of our main objectives is to analyze the relationship between poverty and four explanatory variables that has been chosen by us, which are inflation rate, education level, unemployment rate, and access to clean water. These four variables are chosen for their data availability, the ability for changes in the variables to be implemented, and the economical ramifications that can be observed once the changes are implemented. Now I pass on to the next presenter in my group.
There are one dependent variable and four explanatory variables in this study. The dependent variable in this study is poverty rate. It is the share of individuals living under the international poverty line of $1.90 per day. The first explanatory variable in this study is inflation rate. It is the percentage of change in the consumer price compared to the previous year. The second explanatory variable is the unemployment rate. It is the percentage of labor force who is without work but available for and willing to work. The third explanatory variable in this study is the education level. It is the percentage of population in age of 15 and above who complete the tertiary level of schooling. And the last explanatory variable in this study is the access to clean water. It is the percentage of population who get the coverage of basic and safely drinking water. For poverty and education, we use the data from our world in data. For inflation rate, the data was taken from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. For the third explanatory variable, which is the unemployment rate, the data is taken from the World Bank. And lastly, the access to clean water was taken from the WASH data. So this is the initial equation that we will use in this study.
Alright, my name is AZRI. We're moving on to the data analysis, and our initial equation is ln poverty equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 ln inflation rate plus beta 2 ln unemployment plus beta 3 ln edu plus beta 4 ln water plus the error term. So we put ln in all our variables because of our data is in a percentage form. So as we can see here in the result, when we estimate this equation using OLS method, we see that there's an opposite from what our theory stated in terms of unemployment, which is the coefficient should be positive. So we might have an error in terms of our functional form. Therefore, we conduct a 4 test, which is Ramsey reset test, auxiliary regression, Bruce-Godfrey serial correlation LM test, and also white test. Alright, let's focus on Ramsey reset test, and our level of significance is 0.01. Okay, when we test our initial equation, whether it has specification error using Ramsey reset test, it says that our p-value of f statistic is 0.000, which is lower than alpha, and therefore it concludes that we have a specification error. But after we made some adjustment in terms of our functional form, which we exclude ln on unemployment and also education, when we test our adjusted equation using a Ramsey reset test, our p-value of f statistic is 0.0353, which is greater than alpha, and therefore it concludes that we have no specification error on our adjusted equation. Next, when we test our adjusted equation on all other three tests, which is multicollinearity, circulation, and heteroscedasticity, it turns out that when we test our adjusted equation, we have no problem of all these three errors. And lastly, this is our final model and the estimates using OLS method. So our final model is loan poverty equal to beta naught plus beta 1 loan inflation rate plus beta 2 unemployment plus beta 3 education plus beta 4 loan water plus the error term.
For the individual test of significance, we will conduct a t-test for each explanatory variable to test for individual significance with 0.01 level of significance. From the result, we found that inflation does not have a significant effect on poverty because t value is smaller than critical value. Same goes to unemployment, which does not have a significant effect to the poverty because t value is smaller than critical value. However, education and water accessibility does have a significant effect to the poverty because t value is larger than critical value. For the overall test of significance, we conduct an f-test on all explanatory variables to test whether the explanatory variable have a significant impact on the dependent variable. We use a 0.01 level of significance. The equation will be loan poverty equals to beta naught plus beta 1 loan inflation rate plus beta 2 unemployment minus beta 3 edu minus beta 4 loan water plus random error term. We will accept hash naught when all parameters equal to 0. On the other hand, we will reject hash naught if one parameter is not 0. From the result, the f value is greater than the critical value. We will reject hash naught, thus our model has an overall significance. At least one of the explanatory variables has a significant effect on poverty. Firstly, we choose the OS method, then we conduct a Ramsey reset test and we found that we have a problem with our functional form and we change our functional form. Then we conduct an auxiliary coefficient to test multicollinearity, which show no serious multicollinearity present. Next, we test serial correlation using the Bruce-Godfrey LM test and it showed that there is no serial correlation problem for this model. Lastly, we test heteroscedastic problem using white test and no heteroscedastic problem. Thus, our final model show a positive relationship between inflation rate and unemployment to poverty, while a negative relationship between education and water to poverty.